Bubb Report for the week of April 25th, 2021. Last week, the New Today newspaper in Grenada reported that the government of Grenada initiated the process of compensating former Cabinet Secretary Gemma Bain Thomas, who claimed in a 2014 lawsuit that she was unconstitutionally removed by the island's Prime Minister as its Cabinet Secretary in the wake of his landslide victory in the February 2013 elections. The suit, which was brought before the OECS Court of Appeal, found that the Mitchell administration unconstitutionally removed the public officer and ordered the states to pay vindicatory damages to Bain Thomas. Before last week, the former public servant led a campaign for restorative justice to ensure that monies owed to her were paid. This morning, we discussed the ongoing case and the latest developments. Also on the report, we discussed retirement in the Caribbean and the challenges faced by senior citizens. A 2015 report from the Economic Commission of Latin America states that the Caribbean population is aging faster than the rest of the world, which presents challenges with respect to the quality of life of Caribbean seniors. Founder of the Grenada Association of Retired Persons, the late Carol Vasquez, puts this challenge of aging into this context.
Most of them who are alone are very depressed because their families are not acting like the families should. Sometimes we have relatives living close to them and they don't even go and visit them. You have seniors that come down here or their children put them in a home in Grenada because they're up in the States and they realize, well, mom can't fend anymore, so they put them in the home. We have homes now that are crying out because once they put their families in the home, they pay the first 6 months and after that they don't want to pay.
We welcome our guests, Asher Mungo, caregiving consultant, John Crow Alexander, philanthropist, Nicholas Snag, the president of the Grenada Association of Retired Persons, and Gemma Bain Thomas, former Grenadian public servant. As a late-breaking development, we are joined by Jude Bartholomew, the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers, who was detained for questioning by police officers attached to the St. David police station last evening. We thank you for joining us. Good morning, everyone, and we welcome you to another episode of the Bubb Report. To say that it's been an eventful week in Grenada would be an understatement. Of course, the week started with the run-of-the-mill post-cabinet press briefings hosted by the government of Grenada. Peter David was the minister presiding over last week's post-cabinet briefing. It ended with the launch of a new school of hospitality on the island, spearheaded by Barry Collymore, who is a hospitality connoisseur in Grenada, as well as the ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new Silver Sands beach house property. A polarizing debate, however, emerged with respect to what the Egyptian billionaire said at the groundbreaking ceremony for his new property, that the international airport on the island should be privatized. On the social media front, political activist Nevaeh Newman's Facebook account was unceremoniously and suddenly deactivated, which led some to wonder whether or not she is being victimized for her constitutional right to exercise her free political speech. Her free political speech, by the way, which opposes the current ruling administration in Grenada. She's made no bones about that. However, as we are not in possession of all of the facts with respect to Ms. Newman's abrupt departure from the social media platforms, we here at the Bubb Report will not offer a reaction, except to say that free speech is still a constitutionally protected right in Grenada that needs to be defended and protected at all costs. And as someone who belongs to the fourth estate of Grenada, as someone who believes in a free press, who believes that the press should be independent and unimpeded, we will defend everyone's right to free expression, regardless of which side of the political fence you belong. But we will be watching this space, and next week we will be actually having a conversation on the nature of free expression in Grenada. But at this time, I want to welcome our first guest. He is Mr. Jude Bartholomew, who is the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers. As I call him, Teacher Jude. Teacher Jude, for those who may not know, Teacher Jude and I go back a long way because he was actually a teacher of mine at the St. Joseph's Roman Catholic School. But Mr. Bartholomew, I'm bringing in here this morning because yesterday we learned that you were detained by law enforcement in Grenada. Could you give us a sense as to why you were picked up for questioning?
All right, good morning to the listening public. To those of you wherever you are virtually and the various medium. Before we do it in the Grenada Union of Teachers and how I do it, I usually invoke God's presence first, so I'll just take 1 minute to do that. See and ever living God, the great omnipotent God, we ask you, God, to take total charge and to take total control of this activity here this morning. We ask you to take charge and take total control of the Grenada Union of Teachers, a peaceful and a loving organization, institution, geared out in terms of education and the development of the nation's children and in everything that we do. Lord, you say, oh God, if you are called before the police, before the state or whatever, do not plan your defense, but depend on me and trust in me. I will give you the words, the right words to say. I will carry you through. And we have every confidence that in our difficult moment as public officers, as workers in this country of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique, in all our struggles, that you will break every fetter and you will break down strongholds and that you will carry us through. And through you, the battle is yours and that victory is ours. In Jesus' name, and we claim it. Amen. So I will start now.
Yes, please proceed, Mr. Bartholomew. Yes.
On last Saturday, I was at my home doing some work, just more or less working and relaxing after a difficult week. And then I heard the call in terms of persons calling. So I looked out, and when I looked out, I saw what appeared to be 3 officers in plain clothes. And I asked them, I said, why are you here? And they said, we want to have an interview with you, but we want you to come down to Fort George immediately. We want you to come down to Fort George immediately. I said, no, you can't just dictate that I come to Fort George immediately. I said, did you contact the Grenada Union of Teachers? All right, so we have a structure in the way we do things, and you should contact the Grenada Union of Teachers. They said no. So I said, well, I'm not going to come down to Fort George. They said, well, can you accompany us to St. David's police station? So I said to them, well, go down to St. David's police station and I will get there in about half an hour's time and such. And I did get there. And when I reached there, we went in a room and such, and they started discussing. That's how the process started.
But Mr. Bartholomew, I'm just trying to get a sense as to why they took that action. Was there something that precipitated this? Was this related to the GUT breaking COVID protocols before? As we know that the CMO chastised you for doing that, which the union apologized for. So I'm just trying to understand what led up to this.
Well, they did when they came here, they did talk about the match that we had on April 7th, which we sought permission for, and we got permission. There were police present at the stadium, the national stadium, where we started, and teachers are a very responsible organization. And so we match based on the social distancing, the 3 feet and everything, and we were in perfect order. and we did it right, correctly. So we just couldn't imagine why it is for after all this while that police officers will be coming. And by them coming here, they came to me, but they did not only, let's say, intimidate me or harass me. Whatever was done, what they did is to invoke or harass, intimidate the entire Grenada Union of Teachers, because I'm just the leader of the Grenada Union of Teachers. But by bringing me in and carrying me into St. David's, what did they do? They carry every teacher to St. David's. That's what they did. And not only every teacher, but every public officer, every person in Grenada who have going through all the struggles and all the things that we are going through. And that is what they did. So yes, I might be the person that they would have pulled in, but they did not pull me alone. What they did there yesterday is basically pulling in every teacher, every hardworking teacher who would have made all the sacrifices and did everything, even in the COVID-19. All right, so the government never brought us in or pulled us in, or the police officers, when teachers were going out of the way, even while there were COVID-19 protocols, when teachers didn't have any basically provided with all the necessary gears and protective measures that we were doing and making this sacrifice, going beyond the call of duty to teach the nation's children. And so when all those things in school, when teachers were buying all the different things to help children and to make things work, all right, even in the midst of COVID-19, the government of Grenada or the police officers never came and pulled us out and brought us to St. David's police station or everywhere when we were making that sacrifice for the nation's children, going beyond the call of duty. So what really happened there in terms of that is a sense of ingratitude by the state for our kind work, for all the good things that we have done. That is what the state did, and to repay us in terms of carrying not only me, but the entire Grenada Union of Teachers and the nation, the public officers, wherever they are, whatever trade union organization, even the police officers themselves, because we basically are working hard in terms of to secure their future too. So that is in essence what they would have done. And we are pretty certain that we did obey the COVID-19 protocol.
Mr. Bartholomew, but I'm just trying to understand. So, what would be the outcome of this? Is this? Did they say whether this is an ongoing investigation? You saying that it is the state. I mean, we have no evidence that this came from the Minister of National Security, who is the Prime Minister. Are you suggesting that perhaps this was prompted from persons who were not part of the top brass of the RGPF, sir?
Well, the state here is not necessarily going where you are going in terms of government or what the case may be, but police structure and everything is part of the state. So it's in that context that we are talking about. Also,
Okay.
for that context. But what we are seeing in Grenada here is basically a form of intimidation in a democratic society. People were looking for these sort of things probably in communist countries all over the world. We were looking for this thing that we were never looking as persons in Grenada, workers who would have made all the sacrifices in whatever the situations and circumstances may be, whatever disasters. When Grenada were called back to in terms of the IMF, and the workers had to make all the sacrifices and such, and we would have gone beyond the call of duty. When you're talking about the teacher, and you're talking about the nurses, the doctors, the public officers, you're talking about ordinary people through the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, Martinique, and all over the world where Grenadians are, who have made sacrifices that even the ministers and government, they have not made. Things that we were called to do and the sacrifice. The times that our salaries would have been cut just to make sacrifice to build our country. The call when we have gone beyond the call of duty, the politicians and the ministers, they never made this sort of sacrifice. And to do this to us now in a democratic, a free and democratic society, where we are entitled in terms of to collective bargaining arrangement. And if you look at it, they would have done that to the Grenada Union of Teachers, who is even our institutions and our organization is more than 100 years old, even older than the Grenada, the Constitution of Grenada. And the Grenada Union of Teachers, as our representative body, is embedded in the Grenada Constitution. So it's just something, a new phenomenon, whatever is going on in Grenada, in this state, For what reason, we just cannot understand. When ordinary teachers, ordinary people, ordinary workers, there was a signed agreement. This, what is happening there now, and the government knows that. They know that we are not negotiating for anything new. This was a signed agreement. The very government who was encouraging us to sign for another year in case of a disaster and all those things will come now because we are marching and we walk through the streets, and because we are marching and we are working for economic justice for our bread and butter, for the poor and ordinary teachers. Some of the teachers and workers in Grenada who would have supported this very government. Is unconscionable and unbelievable that these workers of Grenada, most of whom would have supported the Keith Mitchell administration, that they will turn around in terms of that and try to suppress us. So what they are doing is for every different direction. And I am calling on the behalf of the Grenada Union of Teachers and every organization, every institution, the NGO, all different bodies, take note of what is happening in Grenada. We are calling on the conscience of the churches. The churches have to speak up. Yes, they have to speak up. The church's responsibility is not just to go to church on Sunday and Saturday and just preach about God. God demands justice in everything, equality and justice for everybody, especially those who are oppressed, the ordinary and simple worker who are struggling. And the teachers are struggling too, just as everybody else. Grenada is an equal place. So we are calling on the churches of Grenada. Look and see what is happening and ask Almighty God to free a tongue, free your mouth, speak it out. Do not be afraid. Let the clarion call be loud and clear throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique, and throughout the diaspora. You can see with your own eyes what is happening. It appears and it seems that Grenada is becoming an autocratic state, or we have no rights. Or rights in terms of we have rights and responsibility under the Constitution of Grenada, the association to associate. And you just cannot understand, in the middle of the night, you might say, that police officers are coming basically to demand, without even adequate notice and such, that we must come down to the police station to answer questions. And what we think, that is just harassment and intimidation from the state. And the state may have recognized in terms of our actions and what we are doing are very successful, and they feel threatened. But we just want them to know, with respect, that even no matter what they do, Grenada Union of Teachers and its members and the public workers and all public officers, we will never be daunted. We'll never be afraid. That has not shaken me. What it has done to the Grenada Union of Teachers, it has stirred a passion. This thing has advanced our cause, because throughout the length and breadth of Grenada and all over the world, who did not know anything, they would have known last night. They would have known last night, and that did not intimidate the teachers. The teachers and other officers, other unions would have come out in full force. So we just want to make it clear that if they thought by doing this, they would have intimidated us and suppressed us. Tell them, think again, because I, as the President General of the Grenada Union of Teachers and its members, will never be afraid, will never be daunted. And that has motivated us to carry on, to keep pressing on. Victory will come one day. It might take long, but we will never forget. Let it be said loud and clear throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique. We are calling on all political parties, even the NNP. Let's not put politics in it. From every angle, let the nation see, let the people see, let the blind see, let the deaf hear. From every direction, what is Grenada, the government of Grenada, through whatever the police has done to its own citizens in terms of the harassment and all those things. We have never seen this thing in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique. And probably the mistake that they make, they probably thought that I'm a new president of the Grenada Union of Teachers and that I'm young. And by doing those things, they will probably cause us to be afraid. But they have just basically walked in terms of the lion. And I just want them to know that they will never daunt our spirit, and let the whole nation be awakened. Let the whole nation, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit-Martinique, all workers from every angle, take note and watch what is going on. This is a call for to rally everybody together. Those who are behind the scene and have not taken part in whatever action that we have for what is duly us, This injustice is not only about the 4%. The 4% is just one. This Grenada government have a history of reneging, going back on every legal document that's supposed to sign. You have it in the court, you've seen it with the unions, you've seen it everywhere. And what we want people to know, take notes. Whether you support or not, don't bring politics in it. Whatever is happening to us today, if we do not stand strong and stand up to this, the next generation, our children, our grandchildren would have to march even harder and go through even more oppression. So we have to get it right. Just as our forefathers and our union ancestors fought the good fight for us so that we could have the benefits that we have today. Let us remember this is a watershed period in Grenada. Let us stand strong. Let us be motivated. We will never be daunted. And let us work together collectively wherever you are for our cause.
And thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. And in the interest of balance, and there was something that I said earlier that I need to correct myself on. Law enforcement in Grenada is saying that you were not detained. So I want to make that distinction clear to the viewers. But also on the Bubb Report, in the interest of balance, as we try to be fair and balanced here, and I see some comments here saying that this program is political. This program is not political. I want to be very clear about this. I am not funded by any political organization. This program is self-funded. And so I want to be very clear about what my agenda is. My agenda is journalistic integrity and excellence. And I will stand by that and defend that and defend my integrity on that score. But Mr. Bartholomew, just to wrap up, I know that you have been, your union, you've been engaging in different candlelight vigils. I believe you had one in Victoria recently. Would you be continuing the work of activism until really you get the demands with respect to your 4%?
Well, basically, the Grenada Union of Teachers will strategize. We're going to continue this struggle. And at least what would have happened on Friday, April 16th, we had a meeting with the Labour Commissioner and the government negotiating team, which we were not really negotiating, but trying to see how we could have an amicable settlement. The previous meeting before that, we did ask the government negotiating team for some information, financial information, basically because they were claiming that they do not have the money. So we say, if you do not have the money and such, or whatever the financial situation, well, show us the proof and the evidence. Let's see what is happening. They were supposed to furnish the Grenada Union of Teachers with such information on the 31st of March. They never did it. They never did it. And even when we got the notification to attend the meeting on Friday, March 16, we wrote back to the Labour Commissioner and to remind her for us to get that information so that we could be prepared to negotiate, to dialogue and such. And the government was showing that they were not going to furnish us with the information, the very information that they promised us. That is what they promised us. And there is a history of this government always going back on their promise. And what did they do? They came to the meeting and such, and they just had a PowerPoint presentation, all right, by the prominent secretary of the Ministry of Finance. And they still did not give us the information afterwards. They said we're going to get it. And I don't know for sure if up to now we got the information. And the information that they got, or what they claim, based on what they have presented, that they're not in a state to any economic state to give us the money. All research and such has shown that the government or the economic situation is improving in Grenada, especially for February and March. And what they did not show us the information. The information that we called for the 3 months, they hid that information together. So the untrained eyes, or what the case may be, would not be able to see. So is this government fair? Is this government really want to settle? And then the very said persons from the negotiating team went out to the nation and will have the audacity to tell the nation that teachers do not have compassion. The most compassion, the most kind, the most faithful, the most generous set of people you can think about is teachers, made sacrifice in every aspect. This is a form of ingratitude and unconscionable by the Grenada government, by the Ministry of Education, by others to say that the teachers have no compassion. When teachers make sacrifice from every direction, when was the real COVID? What did teachers do? The ministry had no tablet and no anything. The teachers took their own devices and shared it. Some of them crashed. The teachers did not claim from the state. The teachers did very well. They sacrificed. That was the best results in terms of during the COVID-19, for example, for CSEC and for CPE. And the teachers continue to make all these sacrifices and to be given all this insult from the state. Not only teachers, but nurses, doctors throughout the state, even police officers and everybody else. During the time of COVID, these are the persons that we saw. We didn't really see the politicians outside. They were really...
Yes, Mr. Bartholomew. I know you can get passionate about this, but we have to get to the next segment. Ms. Gemma Bain Thomas is here and joining us. Just a couple of things as note of programming. We will be reaching out to the government side with respect to the meeting that you said you held with them, and also we will be reaching out to the Royal Grenada Police Force to ensure that we get their side of the story. Again, Mr. Bartholomew, yes.
Just permit me to quickly. So yes. I want to encourage the Grenada Union of Teachers and all workers in Grenada to be strong. Let us not give up. We will not give up our struggle. We're going to plan ahead, and then the public will know. And we're calling on the nation. We're calling from every aspect to rally with us, because what we are fighting for is a just cause. Is a just cause. And that's what we want. Be strong and hold strong, teachers, wherever you are. And all the other workers and public officers, be strong. And we're going to rally together. Victory will come one day. Thank you so very much.
All right, Mr. Bartholomew, and you also neighbors to my very good cousin in Pomerose there. So the next time I'm home, every time I'm home, I try to catch up with you, but I never see you. You're such a busy man. But Mr. Bartholomew, thank you again, and we will continue to watch the space and follow those developments. As I said, the Royal Grenada Police Force, as well as the government negotiating team, they have an open invitation here to appear so that we can hear their side of the story as well in this battle of the 4%. That was Mr. Jude Bartholomew, who is the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers, recently elected president of the Grenada Union of Teachers. When we come back, folks, we'll be joined by Gemma Bain Thomas, who is a former public servant. She was the head of the Grenada cabinet as cabinet secretary. And so we're going to be joined by Ms. Bain Thomas next. So please stay tuned. Since losing that seat, what have you been up to?
Now, Mr. Attorney General, this particular provision sounds unconstitutional. But why were there not consultations before moving forward with the proposals? Did they say what will happen when you guys get to St. Vincent? Because there are pressing socio-economic issues that I would want to address with you.
In the hyper-information age of social media, the Bubb Report knows there is more to the story. We have questions and demand answers. We strive to hold the powerful accountable and tell an unbiased, contextual story. You know what happened. We let you know why it happened. There is always more to the story. The Bubb Report, streaming every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome back, folks. I should be joined now by Miss Gemma Bain Thomas. Good morning. Is that Miss or Mrs.? I don't want to mispronounce your title. Mrs. Gemma Bain Thomas. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bain Thomas, for joining us here on the Bubb Report. My late mentor, George Grant, spoke in glowing terms about your work as a public servant. So it is a pleasure to have you here. I believe we also had your sister here. So it seems that you come from a family of public servants. Would that be a fair assessment?
Good morning, Kellon. Good morning to all your listeners. Yes, we are a family of public servants. Most of us taught at a secondary school in Grenada throughout our lifetime. One of my sisters, the one who spoke above, she also worked at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. I had another sister at the Customs. So we have really been public servants.
And this week, Mrs. Bain Thomas, it would appear, based on the reading from the New Today publication in St. George's, they indicated that government is moving forward with compensation that was due to you based on that OECS Supreme Court judgment. So can you speak to that, please?
Okay, I have seen and read the article in the New Today myself. What has happened? The government has paid the vindicatory damages judgment arising from the court decision, the Court of Appeal decision of September 22nd, 2017. Now, in that decision, the court ruled that I was unconstitutionally removed from the post of Cabinet Secretary and from the public service. The court awarded damages as compensation for my wrongful termination. So there were two sets of damages, compensatory damages and vindicatory damages. The compensatory damages were intended to compensate for my loss of income until I reached the compulsory retirement age of 60. That is the major component of the damages. The vindicatory damage is a smaller award because the matter was a constitutional matter with a breach of a section of the Constitution. It was granted by the courts to send a clear message that the breach should not be repeated. So in essence, we had two awards, a compensatory damages award and a vindicatory damages award. And so the payment referred to in the New Today is the payment of the smaller award.
So that is a smaller sum.
The smaller sum.
Right.
The compensatory damages award has not been paid as yet. The government did make a proposal to my attorney as it relates to the payment of the compensatory damages. We reviewed it and there were some clear omissions. For example, there was no interest payments. The legal costs to the attorney that were awarded by the court, they were not in the proposal. And we also felt that the time within which the judgment was given and the time for payment, that a more substantial payment should be made upfront. And so we responded to the Attorney General with our comments, but we have not had a response on the compensatory awards from the Attorney General. So at this point in time,
the compensatory award, that is still up in the air with respect to what government's timeline would look like.
Yes.
So it's not going to be a lump sum payment.
They had offered a lump sum payment to start in October of this year, a small lump sum payment. And we recommended that it be modified and increased. And that the monthly payments that they were recommending be increased also. Because, Kellon, if you look at compensation, best practice in compensation is to pay it as a lump sum, but you could also pay in installments. And we understand the economic situation in the country right now. So we are not demanding that you pay all the money one go. But it has to be a win-win situation. Remember, I have been off the government payroll since the 1st of August 2018. I have not been employed, and I had to meet all my financial obligations from then to now. And so you would have used up your savings and so forth. And so you expect the government to take all that into consideration when making a proposal for the payment of the compensatory damages.
Ms. Thomas, how this has been protracted? I mean, the judgment was handed down, I believe that was in 2014, right? Or April 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at the judgment here, but we're looking at what? Almost 5 years, 6 years.
It's about 7 years since we've been through the court system.
Yeah.
This matter started in 2014. February 2014, I was issued a letter from the Governor General transferring me to another post to be determined by the Public Service Commission. And I was issued another letter by the Public Service Commission appointing me as the Executive Director of the Anti-Money Laundering Commission. we felt that the nature and manner in which the transfer was done was in breach of Section 85(2) of the Constitution. And that is why we went to court. So that started in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
There was a High Court judgment in 2015. We appealed the High Court judgment to the Court of Appeal, and we got a judgment in 2017. So it was in September 2017 that the Court of Appeal ruled that the purported transfer amounted to an unconstitutional removal from the public service. And so the court at that point in time said that we should agree within 28 days on the quantum of damages to be paid. And if there was no agreement, we should return to the High Court. So we returned to the High Court in 2018. But on the day that we were supposed to go to the High Court, we signed an agreement with the then Attorney General for the compensatory damages. So when we went to court that morning, we had already had an agreement. It was entered into the court as a consent agreement. And then in March 2019, we had the vindicatory damages judgment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, on a personal note, what has it been like for you? I mean, with respect to this challenge of not being without a steady income, really, what was that like for you?
Well, I have good family, and so they have been very supportive. My husband, my daughter, my sisters, friends, and so they have been very supportive. So I have been able on a monthly basis to meet most of my obligations for the time being. But just being in the court system for this length of time is very frustrating. After a time, you start to ask yourself whether you really should continue going through this all the time. This experience from 2013 to now, with both the legal system and the administrative system, has brought a lot of things to the fore for me. For example, how we could just abuse the Constitution. I'm using the word abuse kind of, but it's like
Are you
the
using that word
Constitution
loosely?
loosely because you abuse the Constitution. There's a violation of the Constitution. It is brought to your knowledge by the court. You have a court decision, and you just blatantly disregard it. And then you use the court decision conveniently. Because I was taken off the payroll in August 2018 because the court decision said that I'm removed from the public service. So I'm removed from the public service, so I cannot be on the payroll. But the same court decision says to compensate me. So in one vein, you're carrying out what the court decision says, but in another vein, you're blatantly disregarding what the court decision says. Further to that, when the Public Service Commission wrote me to remove me from the payroll, I responded to them and I said to them, this means that you have terminated me. My terminal benefit should be immediately paid. That was ignored. After the court judgment of October 2018, the Public Service Commission again wrote me in November 2018, saying that as a result of the court decision, I'm no longer a member of the public service and that my benefits will be paid in accordance with the agreement that I signed with the Attorney General. That was in November 2018. I called the Attorney General in January 2019 to see how we can work this out. And we are in 2021, almost 3 years later, you are still working out an arrangement to pay. And in essence, trying to put you back on the payroll to pay you a monthly sum.
This is very intense and very deep stuff. And of course, there were other court judgments with respect to monies that government had to pay out, right? And we can call that restorative justice. We can call it compensatory damages, whatever it is. But I mean, the sums and the judgments are significant. They are
Yes,
significant, and what people need to acknowledge is that it has to be paid by the taxpayers. At the end of the day,
the
it comes
taxpayers.
from the tax base of the country. It doesn't come from the pockets of
And
politicians.
And Kellon, the longer they take to pay it, just like you saw in the Dorset Child's case, it increases
Hmm.
because there is interest on court judgments.
Hmm.
Based on the Court Proceedings Act, judgments of the court have a 6% interest. So the longer you take to complete an arrangement and to settle, it increases the sum by the interest payments, as was done in the Dorset Child's matter.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, Mrs. Bain Thomas, any final comments from you before we get to the next segment?
Well, just to say that sometimes you have to link things. And you see the current, we were speaking to Mr. Bartholomew just before me, and there's a dispute going on with the teachers. And it boils down to almost a similar attitude. There is a signed agreement, but I would unilaterally determine how this is done, and there is no engagement. Just a simple engagement with me prior to having me issue that letter in February 2014 could have prevented all this cost and what is going on now. But the powers that be saw no reason to engage me, but to send the letters to me via a policeman. And that is what resulted in us being where we are today. So we need to be more open to the other person's views, their feelings. Citizens need to be treated with respect, especially persons who would have given years of service to the public service. You need to respect them, no matter what you may think of them, but you also need to respect them. And with respect, we'll find that the issues with the teachers and other public officers could be addressed and handled in a more amicable manner.
And Mrs. Bain Thomas, I would love to bring you back on because we'll be having a conversation, I believe in May or June, with respect to public sector reform and what that looks like in the context of Grenada, a professionalization of the public service, if you will. That is a conversation and a debate that needs to be had, especially in the context of statements that were made by a foreign investor in Grenada, hotelier at the Silver Sands project, who again made some comments with respect to the privatization of the international airport. But a subtext of that debate comes down to efficiency or lack thereof in the public service. And I would love to bring you back as somebody who made it through the ranks of the public service to talk about how we can professionalize that sector of such a vital part of the economy. So, Mrs. Bain Thomas, thank you again for appearing on the Bubb Report. I think we lost Mrs. Bain Thomas there, but folks, stay with us. We will take another break, and when we come back, we will come back with today's panel. Stand by.
Since losing that seat, what have you been up to? Now, Mr. Attorney General, this particular provision sounds unconstitutional. But why were there not consultations before moving forward with the proposals? Did they say what will happen when you guys get to St. Vincent? Because there are pressing socio-economic issues that I would want to address with you.
In the hyper-information age of social media, the Bubb Report knows there is more to the story. We have questions and demand answers. We strive to hold the powerful accountable and tell an unbiased, contextual story. You know what happened. We let you know why it happened. There is always more to the story. The Bubb Report, streaming every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome back, folks. I'm happy to be joined by the next panel. It is a conversation that needs to be had. It's a very important conversation. We all will be growing old. We come from families who are now in retirement homes, retirement facilities in the Caribbean. And the Caribbean's population is an aging population. But one of the challenges that we have with respect to aging in the Caribbean is the notion that we don't take care of our seniors in the way that we should. And so I'm happy to be joined by the president of the Grenada Association of Retired Persons, Mr. Nicholas Snag, and Mr. John Crow Alexander, who is a philanthropist. He does a lot of charity work in the New York area and across the eastern seaboard. I heard he was in Washington, D.C. recently. But what we want to do today is to talk about aging and retirement in Grenada and in the Caribbean and the challenges that come with aging and retirement. And this goes to the context of the work that was started by the Grenada Association of Retired Persons to highlight some of these challenges. So, Mr. Snag, I want to welcome you to the Bubb Report. Good day to you. And Mr. Alexander.
Good morning, Mr. Bubb. Good morning to your listening public, wherever they may be, across whatever media they choose to engage with you. Good morning. Yes. For the invitation.
Yes, and we also are joined by Asha Mungal, who is out there in Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to wait. Oh, there she is. She's right on camera. But she's also a caregiving consultant, which really speaks to aging and retirement. So, Mr. Snag, I want to start with you. Tell us, the Grenada Association of Retired Persons, one of your remit is to ensure that we treat retired persons and seniors with more dignity and more care. Are you suggesting that there are deficiencies in the way that we treat our seniors in Grenada?
Well, not just in Grenada. I think throughout the world, the elders need to be treated with the same level, regardless of what they are. So I'm not singling out Grenada. Your statistics earlier said that the population is aging rapidly in the Caribbean. Yes. In America. In Grenada, the percentage-wise in the 20-odd percentile, of a population of 112,000 people, you're talking about 25,000 people that's aging and aging rapidly. Yeah? And what we need to look at too is at the other end is also the percentage of the population that's growing. And that is not keeping up either. So what we left with is with an aged population. And how do we treat them? How do we interact with them? How do we engage them that they are productive citizens of this society that we want to have and enjoy? And that's a very big question, a very grave question that all of us have to deal with because we all are racing to that point of being an elder. Yeah. So at the beginning of this, families, the average age of the elderly in Grenada is 70 plus. The 50 something and the old younger set of people, they're also moving there. And what we need to do is prepare them for that life, that they are ready for that part of their transition into the golden years, as we call it. Yeah, this needs to be done and done effectively, and it's not being done. Yeah, people are retiring into poverty because they did not prepare financially for it. People are now in homes. Imagine what happened with COVID, Kellogg. COVID right now, they have an issue where they're not allowing visitors. Can you imagine your mother, your father, your auntie, your favorite person that you grew up with is in the home and you cannot visit them? That must be very, very, very distressing for both parties, the family and the person in the homes. And can you imagine the added stress that is added to the staff that is there, that has to deal with that on a daily basis?
The caregivers.
The caregivers, that's an added stress on them to make sure that person stays physically well, mentally well, yeah? And socialization is a big part of being a human being. So if we do not have that human touch, that human interaction, how do we now keep that individual in a positive state to deal with whatever issues that they're having? Now, the other part of this is the mental aspect of it and the health aspect of it. We in the Caribbean and Latin America suffer a lot with, non-communicable disease and NCDs. And this is a big part of the problem. COVID now has amplified that. Yeah? Should you now be one of the disease, diabetes, hypertension, kidney failures, heart diseases, all of those things, You're carrying this already, and you now come down with COVID. It now amplifies it. Yeah. So I think the whole thrust of it needs to be more education to the people as they age, to be more health conscious, especially men, to be more health conscious of their health. Women are a little bit more ahead of us where that is concerned, and be more active. Yeah? A simple thing as going and do a half an hour walk. A simple thing as taking some time for yourself to sit and read and meditate, get your mental state in a positive way. I think all of that goes a very long way to help out. In terms of policies, the governments are currently working on different policies to assist the elderly, but that's a long way in coming. As you know, government wheels turns very slowly. So policies takes time to come to fruition, and time is what we don't have. We are quickly running out of that. And
on that note, let me bring you in here, Asha. Nicholas is saying that we're running out of time to put capacity structures in place to ensure that our seniors are properly taken care of. Would you echo that sentiment?
Yes, I totally agree. The difference with what our seniors are facilitated with in Trinidad compared to Grenada is that we have a pension for our seniors when they get to a certain age. So that has been extended, from 60 to 65. But at the same time, because of COVID and all the challenges that the government has been faced with financially, I'm not too sure how long that is going to be sustained. And us as individuals, we're not putting things in place. One, the aging population that we are faced with, many of them have not put things in place. Because of the chronic illnesses that many of us are faced with in the Caribbean. So the same things that Nicholas mentioned with regards to the diabetes, hypertension, we have cancer as another situation that is very high in numbers. The onus relies on the children who are also not financially, secure to be able to support having caregivers coming to the family to take care of them or putting them in a facility that would offer that level of care. And with COVID, you have severe levels of depression happening, so much so that many families have now taken their loved ones out of the facilities and bringing them back home for private care and caregivers to come in where they will have that interaction, that socialization, and more hands-on medical care to be monitored and managed. So, like Nicholas said, more measures have to be put in place. We can't just say that the government is going to do X, Y, and Z, but us and maybe corporate within insurance companies and stuff to provide more packages, but we are also limited in what insurance companies provide to us in the Caribbean compared to what you would get in the States. So within GOP, we have TOP down here, which would have companies registered with them to provide discounts to seniors, TOP members. But still, that is not sufficient. So the strain is there with everyone, from the family, the senior person, from the government aspects. Everything is a major cost, and we really need to have implementation, even if it's something collaborated, because Carol and I, spoke many times in the past with regards to creating some collaboration that can be utilized throughout the different islands in the Caribbean. And maybe we need to get back on that conversation with the other groups from the other islands.
And I'm wondering, Asha, is there a sort of a CARICOM wide initiative in the way that CARICOM have these regional initiatives on aging? It's not something that is factored in, at least into popular culture, popular media discussions.
I don't think that we do, because every island operates individually. So Barbados, BOP, SLOP in St. Lucia, GOP in Grenada, TOP in Trinidad. So everyone operates individually, which I think collectively, if we all come together and be under one body, it may create a greater impact where we can get more things being offered or plans put in place where seniors are concerned. So like in the States and Europe, when you have caregivers coming home to you, you can file back for an insurance in your insurance to get some sort of refund. That is not the case for us here, well, at least in Trinidad. So whatever you spend, whether it's 5,000 a month or 10,000, we provide caregivers for in-home care. Some of my clients, their bills range between 15 to 17, maybe 21,000 per month, and that is round the clock care. There's no claim getting back anything, even if you get back a percentage, and that does not include medication, their personal hygiene aspect of, the adult Pampers, wipes, gloves, etc. You still have to invest in if they need a walker, if they have to get a hospital bed rented or purchased. So there are a lot of expenses that, incur monthly. And maybe, having, definitely, I would say not maybe, having a body that, key persons from the different islands come together to make it a collective effort would definitely make a greater impact for us all, because we are all aging. And I myself, being in this field, wonder what my tomorrow would look like, because, you can't just rely on your children. You have to start putting things in place, from today, be it the exercising, proper health, as the case may be. But still, those things aren't guaranteed, because sometimes your organs have whatever situation, and life. And as we age, everything just depreciates.
Life happens.
We have to, yeah. Definitely. And then COVID happens.
Yep. And let me bring in John Crow here. John Crow, thank you again for agreeing to appear on the Bubb Report on such last notice. Thank you, my friend up there in New York. But Mr. Alexander, one of the things we were speaking about John Crow last night is, and it echoes something that Carol Vasquez, the late Carol Vasquez, says on another platform, that is Conversation 473, in which she said that when we get to a certain age, there is a culture of sidelining our seniors. And she was very passionate about this, John Crow. And that is something you said last night. So I just want you to pick up on that.
Age discrimination in the Caribbean is legal. It is legal to discriminate against someone who is old. We talk about racism and discrimination, Indian versus African, African versus Indian, short versus tall. In real terms, in Grenada in particular, I don't want to speak on all the other Caribbean islands, but in Grenada in particular, you are forced into retirement once you hit the age of 60, I think it is. But whatever that age is, they send you home. They put you out to pasture. And we have a lot of talent. We have a lot of talent that are sitting at home or sitting on the roadside. I know of a former police officer in Grenada in particular right now who is pretty much sitting at home waiting on the good Lord to call him home. And this guy had a lot of years of experience as a traffic officer, and who I know could still make a considerable contribution to the department, as in what he used to do. And it's unfortunate that our leaders do not see the need, excuse me, to change that rule or that law that we have, that when you're old, you go home, and we're looking at young people who in a lot of cases, in plain English, don't know what they're doing, but they're holding positions, high positions in areas that they have no business being. The statement that the Egyptian billionaire man made the other day of privatization, everybody's upset about the privatization, but the statement he made that is really jarring to me is the fact that he said, as long as you want to continue working as a typical civil servant, what does that tell you? And so that the young people, there's nobody training them as to how to do what correctly. And mistakes are being made over and over and over again because you are trying to teach people on the job and you have no one with the experience, with the seasoned experience, who are able to teach.
But John, part of the counter argument, which we will not get in today, is that there is a culture of, especially among senior folks in the public service and things like that, to keep that well of knowledge that they have and not pass that down generationally. So there is that argument as well. I'm not,
and legitimately so. That has to be. But again, if you shift the culture where the focus is moved, or you move the focus to teach what you know, because you are at that, instead of just throwing you out to pasture, right? Like the young lady you had before, where they kicked her out because of whatever reason that they kicked her out, right? As opposed to saying, well, let's see how we could get from her all of that experience and knowledge before we actually move her, or move her in a location where she's, instead of, okay, you don't want her in that top position, why not put her in a position where she's able to pass on the information? And like my friend, the senior who I mentioned before, the elder, why not move him in a position where he's able to mentor young officers before you put him into retirement? Okay, we had a police commissioner who has been on the payroll now for several years, right? Before, and so then that's why the current one had to be acting commissioner for so long, because we had a current commissioner, again, because of whatever silliness that are going on behind the scenes that we're not talking about right now. But those kinds of shenanigans, as opposed to looking at it for what it is. Okay, but anyway, so I got myself involved, not from that angle. I got myself involved with trying to help because I saw the need. I saw the need, and I said, well, what can I do? As you said, we are at an aging range right now. Everybody's getting old, whether you want to or not. I mean, a couple years ago, I didn't have all of this gray hair and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I wake up one morning and I'm gray. I was like, wait a second, what happened? But anyhow, and I got involved and I said, well, what can I do? And it so happened my mother-in-law passed, and in arranging her funeral, I said to the family, rather than people coming with flowers, let's ask them to donate to the Father Hilarion home in Surtees, financial donation in her name, and which was quite successful. And so out of that, 40 days after her passing, my stepmother died, and I was coming home for the funeral. And I called Leah, who is the director at the Father Hilarion home, and I said to her, what is it that you really need? Because I'm coming home for this funeral, and I, what can I carry for you? And she said, well, John Crow, I'd like some scrubs so that I could have my staff look kind of a uniform, and I would like a pot. And I said, a pot? And she said, yes, a pot. I let it sit, and we had some other conversations, and I went back and I said, no, you mentioned a pot. I'm trying to understand pot. She said, a pot to cook. I said, I don't get the connection. She said, John Crow, I have a staff of X number of people. I have X number of residents, and the pot that we have, I've used it so many times that one day we put a pot on the fire and the bottom fell out. And so right now we are without a pot that is able to accommodate the amount of people, food for the amount of people that we have to feed on a daily basis. And so I need a pot. Long story longer, I bought a pot, huge, can't remember the size now, put it in a suitcase, stuffed it with scrubs, and I brought it home. And the rest is history. And from that first gesture, I started collecting items to ship.
And that is why I wanted to connect you with the Grenada Association of Retired Persons, because and Mr. Snag, I hope you can connect with Mr. John Crow, because that's the work that and that's one of the needs that you have identified in the association. Yes, Nicholas? And that is one of the things that Carol, the late Carol, has been very passionate about, ensuring that because there is that need there, as Mr. Crow has identified.
There's many needs. There's many needs, and Mr.
Oh God,
Crow,
yes.
we welcome you, and we would gladly partner with you with any endeavor that you choose to do here on the island. We welcome that. But I want to pick up something on something that Asher said earlier in regards to collectively, BARP and all the other association across the Caribbean get together. Not today, yesterday. We need to do this rapidly. All the things she mentions with the insurance companies, all the other companies that's in the Caribbean, if we now come together as one and approach them, the whole dynamics change, right? And it's all about a numbers game. Insurance only deals with when it is a number game in their favor. So let us put all the numbers together, come together, and that aspect of it, I think, will be a real big needle changer if we can get that association going at that level. Therefore, we can have more impact across the Caribbean as opposed to everyone in the little silos, Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia. We're not going to get anywhere real quickly. So I want to pick up Asher in that, and I strongly would support her in any way we can to get that moving. Back to Mr. John. Yes, we partner with many individuals in Grenada that come to Grenada and do the same thing. We have them cook a pot of soup, and we have the caregivers that goes out and deliver the soup to the people who need it. And, there's people that's actually out there waiting for this to come to them. Yeah, it's a need. It's not a want or like to do or feel good thing. You are actually giving somebody something to eat that day. That's how grave and needed that it is right here. And Mr. Crow, I applaud you, and we are willing to meet and sit down with you and help you in any endeavor you wish to partake in Grenada. And I'm sure Mr. Budd would share my contact details with you so that we can make some hookups and see how we can assist. Now, one more thing before I go. Imagine this. In all the homes in Grenada, every bed is occupied. Every single one. Every single one. Private and public. Every single one is occupied. So where do we go? And what doesn't look very bright? On the horizon, there's no new one coming along. Yeah? So there it is. So back to what Asher is saying, you're now back to the point of caring for your elderly persons in your home. If you're a younger person who took on that responsibility, you have to work also to pay the bills. So then you have an added expense of bringing somebody, a caregiver, into your home to take care of persons. Here's where policies comes in. What does that person look like? What did they do? How they qualified? Can they handle that person in a proper way with dignity and respect? Yeah, that's what we're talking about, policies and advocating for the elders. This is where that comes in, so that these policies and these things are done ahead of time, so these young people can be trained in geriatrics to be able to deal with these situations. Yeah, and we cannot force that into our hospitals. The hospital have enough to do already. So it comes back to us as individuals to take care of ourselves now. To any of the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings that's listening to us now, I implore you, start thinking about your retirement. Start doing something about your retirement, both financially, physically, and mentally. Start doing it today. Asha?
And yes, Asha, you're taking up that call there.
Yes, definitely. A part of, Carol and I had such wonderful conversations, and we had so many plans and ideas to put forward. And I would definitely, Nicholas, continue this conversation together with Mr. John with regards to how we can move forward, because collectively, I can't do it on my own, and I think we're trying to reinvent the wheel when each of us are trying to do the same thing, but, separately. So it has to be collaborated, so much so that I had formed the Caregivers Support Group of Trinidad and Tobago, where persons who are caring for our senior loved ones, they can get the support, where we're going to be starting training for the family members, because there are a lot of families who have now taken on this responsibility, and you really don't have a clue. You're hoping that what you're doing, is making sense, and you love your mother or your father, and you're just trying to do what you need to do. But it's an unknown area that you're going into. None of us have been prepared for it. Matter of fact, this is how my entire business started, because as an only child caring for my mom, there was a lot of things I just didn't know, I didn't understand. And then you're also trying to understand who this person is, because this is not the mom or dad that you grew up with, because now that they've aged, there are so many changes happening to them. And they themselves are also confused because they're not understanding what is happening, or coming to the realization where they need the assistance. So it's a collective, collaborated effort from all ends, all sides, because, we really, caring for seniors and getting people aware and respectful that, everybody's aging. We would all get there one day, but they have so much knowledge that can be passed on to us. Whereas we think that, we're now doing this and this is our idea. No, it's been there. We've been there. We've done that. Right? And we need to start conversations. We need to include the seniors into a lot of these decisions that we're making where it comes to this, because it's for them, which would eventually be for us. So, I'm so happy I'm part of this conversation.
Yes. Yes, quickly, John, and then I'll get to some comments from the audience.
Oh God, so much I want to say all at one time is but anyhow, 40 years ago, I did my first video production project, and it was at a senior center here called Margaret Teets Center. I never knew at the time what geriatrics were. I never knew what an octogenarian is until I did that project. And after the project, okay, you did a class project, it's done, you move on. So now here I am 40 plus years later, and I'm learning all these terms all over again, working with our seniors. Now, one of the things that Asha just mentioned about collaboration and what have you. No, I got linked up with the Council for the Disabled and Hillary Gabriel in Grenada. That is the connection, Mr. Snag. So through Hillary, and just so that I'm making a full circle here, we have been collaborating, if I could use that phrase, by reaching out to seniors in Grenada. Now, my container, this second container is not there yet, but we have been instrumental in getting several wheelchairs, several beds, several seniors who are in need. And now these are people who are not in a senior center. These are individuals who are at home and who need this. I want to say to the young people listening who are in school now, thinking of going to school, consider learning how to take care of old people, because you might be the sole caregiver for your parents one of these days. You might be the sole caregiver for your grandparents one of these days. And you want to have a little bit of knowledge that you could share to someone who might be taking care of you when you become of that age. And I mean, it is heartwarming for me running into people like you, myself, Asha, and Mr. Snag. And I want to say this while I'm talking, because Killen tell me I don't have a lot of time. Charity Drive Grenada Seniors. Charity Drive Grenada Seniors is the GoFundMe page that I have set up, where I'm asking people for donation to help us to pay for the shipment of the items that we're sending home. We did some cleaning yesterday, and I'm working with a shipper right now, Whiskey Shippers, who is going to help us to get the items to Grenada. And once it gets there, Miss Hillary Gabriel and her team are the ones who would be handling it on the ground and distributing it to our senior centers across the Tri-Island state of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique.
Okay. All right. So let's get to some comments, folks, and I want everyone here to jump in. We have some comments here. Margaret Modest is saying, very timely discussion. The rate we are seeing people coming down with dementia, there must be training offered to caregivers to deal with this situation. Then Timton Ortega is saying, the desk of the elderly in the Ministry of Social Development, as there is a desk of the elderly, can use your assistance in getting supplies to the most need. Andrea says training tool for geriatric caregivers, as the point you're raising dovetails into what you're saying. That's important. Mr. Snag, someone is asking, is there an actuary or actuarial society in Grenada? I guess GARP probably doubles that mission as well. Nicholas?
Well, GARP fills a lot of shoes, as you can well imagine.
Yeah.
In Grenada. And I'm sure I should have the same thing going on in Trinidad and BARP and our colleagues in St. Lucia. We fill so many shoes. It's unbelievable what we do. But I do want to thank Mr. Crow for that information. And we do work with the Desk of the Elderly very closely. Those caregivers I mentioned when we distribute the soups that is produced by the volunteers that cook it for us. They are the people we work with to actually get these to the people that in need of it. Yeah. So we don't operate in a silo by ourselves. We're like an octopus. We have tentacles everywhere, and we reach out to these people and we support them wherever they can. And our organization is 99% voluntary. So all of these people volunteer to deliver the soup, drive the soup, using their own resources. Yeah. So all of this is done on a voluntary basis, self-financed by some of the volunteers. That's what they do. And I do think that joining up together is the key to this. It is the glue that's going to make this thing happen for seniors or elders, as I want to refer to them as, because that's where they are. And I do agree with Mr. Crow that there is so much information out there and we're not utilizing it. The other day I was listening to the ECCB board talking about exactly the same thing, the elderly, and how are we dealing with them. And do you know one of the statistics that stuck with me is that a lawyer reaches his peak at age 65. Think about that for a moment. At age 65, that's when he reaches his peak. Yeah, and at 60 in Grenada is retirement. Now the government is thinking about extending it to 65. And it's still, you know, I would think about all the teachers that are retired, the policemen that's retired. All of these people can be mentoring people as they're going forward. Now that we're in the COVID and all these students are home and just recently they started going back to school, but a lot of them have fallen backwards. And they need that little push to keep them on track. All these retired teachers, why can we not be pulling these people together in community centers to do after school extended learning and stuff like that? This is a resource. These people didn't forget how to teach us because they left the classroom. That information is still with them. So we need to reach out to that. And the policemen that having to deal with some of the behaviors that we're seeing in society right now can, you know, start training these kids to have a disciplined approach to their lifestyle. You know, to be a policeman, you must be disciplined, right? So all of these things, I think if we put them together, we can have a very, very, very good thing. The elderly will have now a focus, a purpose, right? I'm not saying that they don't, but this will have a little stimulus for them there. The young people now will get to interact with somebody that has now been there, done it, and have the experience of dealing with it, both physically and emotionally. And we will have a more cohesive society because there's no longer them and us. Yeah. The older person and the younger person, blend them together. Let's bring them together. And therefore, we would all reap the benefit of what the society can really and truly offer.
And we have another comment here. Mr. Ortega is saying, a pot of soup is the least of what is needed. There needs to be a national policy that speaks to the protection and care of the elderly in every aspect of their existence. Example, social, financial, access to public facilities. What say you, panel? Asha, I would start with you.
I totally agree. But the issue with making these policies, and okay, so I'm in my 40s. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, I had to deal with persons in positions who are in their 20s and 30s. If they are not seeing the value, or they're not understanding or getting that aha and acceptance that I too will get to that age, let me put things in place. Let me have the conversations with the relevant persons. These policies are not going to happen. Even in companies that I had approached to get certain discounts for seniors, right? This totally failed because, again, I'm dealing with persons in their 30s and 40s who probably, but their parents are still good, can take care of themselves. They may not have any direct dealings with their grandparents or not been around anyone who has been aging. So they really don't get it. So this is, getting past that for us to move forward is very, very difficult because it comes now in collaborated efforts where I am probably the youngest person out of the group of seniors that we sit and we have conversations. And when they go out there, it's the same thing, same issue. They're not being heard because you're looking at them like, well, what these old people want, right? But these old people were once in your position. So getting the policies in place, getting heard, getting understood is a challenge. So unless we come up with the numbers externally to then go in and make that impact, that is the only way that we're going to get heard for these policies to be put in place. Because Carol also had a lot of challenges, talking to persons, and she's been talking and talking and talking, and said so many things. And we come back today to have the same conversation that she said how many years back. And
right.
And it's like you're spinning top in mud.
Mm-hmm.
So hence the reason where, having that collective body, where you have the numbers, because that is what these people want to see. What they don't want to hear, well, okay, you have how many members? 50. You have 100. That means nothing to them. But if you come to them and say, listen, we have 50,000 members. What? Oh, what can I do for you? What do you need? At that point in time now, we have weight. They want us. So they're going to be coming at us. So the conversations have to be had behind closed doors initially before we come out individually to talk to persons, because they are not going to hear us on a one-to-one.
And this, I see Judge John is trying to jump in there. John, go ahead.
Yes, I want to jump in. The Mr. Ortega, there's no need for a policy for you to put your hand in your pocket and put out $50 or $100 to make a donation to any of the centers or any of these organizations, me included, in terms of assisting with getting that senior a bowl of soup. And that pot of soup, while it might seem insignificant to you, that individual at home who does not have anybody to provide him with a pot of soup is glad for that bowl of soup when they get it. So yes, the policy is needed. And I mean, I would not argue against the policy, and Asha just outlined it very perfectly. But at the same time, what do we do with those individuals who are at home and who are unable to care for themselves? Do we just sit down and watch them? Okay, they're old, and leave them alone and let them go about the business and forget about them? No, we still have to put the groundwork in. Hence the reason why I started collecting these items. Right now, I'm ready to ship. It's almost, the container is almost full, and I am begging for money to help me ship this container. So anybody, any amount that you have, we gladly accept it. Mr. Snag in Grenada, with his organization, I know they're constantly looking for donation and contribution. So no matter where you are, whether you're in Trinidad, whether you're in Tobago, Barbados, wherever, there is an organization that are working with seniors that need financial support. And while we like to talk on Facebook and on social media and run with gilly, we slow at putting our hands in our pocket and writing a check and helping these organizations to complete the task that nobody else wants to do.
Nicholas, you want to pick up on that?
I want to pick up, yes, I do want to pick up on regarding to the policy. GARP in Grenada started in 2011. The government's policy consultation started some years before that, and we're still waiting for it. If GARP stood still and waited for that policy, where would all those people be today? So we did not wait for that policy. We stepped forward and did what we needed to do. Yeah, and that's where it comes in. I implore all West Indians in the diaspora that's outside there listening to this conversation, taking part in this conversation. Do as Mr. Crow says, put your hand in your pocket and make a donation to somebody who's trying to do something. Yeah, we may not get it right, we may not get it perfect, but we're trying and we're doing. And that's the main thing, right? The seniors don't have tomorrow, they have right now, is what I'm trying to say, right now. The younger people have tomorrow. None of us is guaranteed tomorrow, but at least they have something they can look forward to. But what I'm saying to you, right now, we need it right now. The ground is right now. There's an upswell of the need. And COVID-19 has just exacerbated all of that. It's just magnified it. Yeah. And we are not just Grenada. Asha, it says, you know, I get emotional when I think about it, when I see it and the need, and it's there. One more thing I want to say, Karen, before we leave here today. There's a lot of things going on with seniors, right? COVID-19 has pushed everything digital and all of that stuff. Friends and families of your elders of your family, please, please, please pay close attention to what's happening with them. You have put them on Facebook, you have put them on WhatsApp and all the social medias. You're not the only one communicating with them. There's other people behind the scenes trying to communicate with them. And there's a lot of financial fraud, identity theft, and all of these things are happening to the seniors and the elders of it because they're not as savvy as you. They're not as in depth as you with it.
And the digital divide among that age group is even wider.
It's huge.
Right?
It's huge.
Yes.
But I'm thinking specifically to the ones that made the leap and actually got there. Yeah. And once they're there, they're not aware of how the thing works. They're not aware of the pitfalls they can fall into. Here's a concrete example. I had an elder person who went to the bank to withdraw $8,000. Nobody asked him a question. Why would a 60-something-year-old man come to withdraw $8,000 cash? Left and came back a couple of minutes later to take out 20, and still nobody asked a question. Now, those are the policies we need to put in place with these financial institutions to pick up on these things that something is wrong here. Let us take a minute and figure out why this person is just withdrawing this large sums of money all of a sudden. Yeah.
An audience member is asking. An audience member is asking: Is there a website where people can donate to your organization? How can they channel funds to your organization if they want to support?
Well, we have a website, and as you well know, we are all volunteer, and we're working on that currently to get that up and functioning so we can accept these type of thing. All these things are not easily done, as you could well in Grenada. There's lots of things you need to go through, the financial people, financial intelligence to make sure that all these things are done properly. We are working towards that, and we should have that up and functioning sooner rather than later. And once it's available, we will make it.
But you do have a Facebook page, correct?
We have a Facebook page, yes. We have a Facebook page, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Crow said he has a GoFundMe page. We don't have a GoFundMe page. That also is being worked. Now, like I said before, Carol did a phenomenal job when she was here, but there's still gaps. There's a new executive in place, and all these matters are being looked at to be addressed, and we will have them put out to the general public in short order. That's one of the things we are on our top agenda to get happening.
All right. And Asha, I'm going to bring you in for a 30-second wrap-up comment from you, and I'll end with Mr. Crow. Asha.
I'm reaching out to everyone who's listening that this message would be, don't just keep it that you looked at it, you listened to us, get that word out. We need to create that awareness for our seniors, for ourselves, for our tomorrow. We need to be able to find that support. Social media is there. YouTube has fantastic videos on everything, caring for the elderly, how to lift, how to do different things, what to look for with the different chronic illnesses that they're diagnosed with. Educate yourself, use the technology, because this is what we're in right now. Please be mindful, be aware, monitor, watch, look, observe, listen. Really listen to what your seniors are saying. There's a serious level of depression taking place amongst us all, seniors more so. and our young people, right? But please, let's just be aware, open your eyes, your ears, your senses, let it be alert. Now that you've heard what we've all said, you know what to look for, you know to be, that extra person in your seniors' lives where today can make a difference for tomorrow. Things happen, and when it happens for seniors, there's no easy fix, there's no quick comeback. It's a spiral of situations, medically, financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Take the time today and try and make a difference in a senior's life, be it your family, your neighbor, some senior that you know.
John, final thoughts from you. If you can, in less than a minute.
Less than a minute. Seniors that listen. One of the people who volunteered with me yesterday to help clean the equipment that we're sending home, she was reflecting on her sister, who she said, John Crow, we spent, I forget, millions of dollars to help her to go to school. She graduated, became a lawyer. 6 months after she became a lawyer, she went into some kind of medical something that she's right now a vegetable. And so the lady who volunteered with me is now, her caregiver. So even when young people, you could become a senior just because of sickness. So what I'm encouraging you to do, those of you who are watching and listening, and we have some very smart people in the audience, please, all I'm asking you, I have a GoFundMe page and I'm trying to help to send this container home.
The comments as well, John.
Yes, I did that. I did it.
Okay.
Charity Drive. Go to the GoFundMe page. It's Charity Drive Grenada Seniors. Charity Drive Grenada Seniors. On the GoFundMe page and make a dollar contribution, please. Our seniors is our future. Our seniors are our future. Let me go in the right grammar here. Because one day you too would become a senior. One day you too would be. I don't have any of my grandparents. They're all gone on to the great beyond. So I have no grandparents in Grenada right now. So it's not like I'm doing this to help my grandparents. I just lost my aunt a couple of weeks ago, Sarah Lynn from St. James, who was buried recently. Big funeral, beautiful turnout, grand gesture in terms of the support. And I'm grateful to the Grenadian community for how they give her a send off. I'm begging you in Grenada, support Mr. Snag and his organization. In Trinidad, support Miss Aisha, right? Is it Aisha? Asha, sorry, and her organizations. Support this. Now we have St. Vincent. And look at what is happening in St. Vincent right now. Everybody's running, chasing their tail, trying to help St. Vincent. Imagine what's happening with the seniors. Okay, so when the disaster strike, we know what we have to do. So don't wait until the disaster strike before you start taking action. Let's do something for them now. And we on social media, and we got a lot to say on social media. I'm saying to you folks, those of you who are capable and able, 5 cents, 10 cents, 100, 200, $500, $1,000, gladly accepted. Thank you so very much, Kellan, for bringing me onto this program. Much appreciation. Asha, nice to meet you. Mr. Stagg, nice to meet you.
Yes, John. So I shared your contact with one of my producers so that he can pass that on to Mr. Snag. So you folks will be in touch.
It's not a problem.
Yes.
I have an email. I want to give you my email address. It's myjohncrow@gmail.com. myjohncrow@gmail.com. I'm an open book. You could reach me anywhere, anytime that you care to. And Asha, let's stay in touch. I like the collaboration idea that we could, because if you could be able to purchase, because I'm collecting beds and stuff like that, right? And I know if you were to buy these things, I know the cost, how expensive and so forth. Collectively, it's a lot cheaper. Thank you.
All right. Okay, panel, thank you for this very important discussion. I want to thank my previous guests, Mrs. Gemma Bain Thomas, as well as Teacher Jude, Mr. Jude Bartholomew, who is the president of the Grenada Union of Teachers, who was asked to turn himself in at the St. David police station. Again, he was not detained. I apologize for that previous statement there. And that is a story we will be following here on the report. But just before we go, next week we will be having a program in which we will be discussing constitutionally guaranteed free speech and democracy in the context of events that have been taking place in Grenada recently, but also in the context of the recent report from Reporters Without Borders. I will share the report. That report was released last week, and this is what it says about Grenada and other OECS countries. I'm quoting from the report. It says, political influence over journalism on the rise. Journalists in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States receive poor training and often abandon working in media because it is badly paid, an issue that is even more relevant to female journalists in the OECS. Several media outlets, and this is significant, it says, several media outlets are under the direct influence of politicians, especially during election cycles, as officials withdraw state advertising at any time, depriving them of income they depend on. Political parties in some islands own major shares of media companies, compromising journalistic independence. Authorities are also monitoring social networks. Again, I would repeat that. Those are not my words. Authorities are also monitoring social networks, which encourages self-censorship. So next week, we will be having a conversation about free speech, also within the context of the function of media and democracy in the region. But also, it would be a good time for us to remember the late, great George Grant, one of my mentors, who unfortunately passed away last year. And of course, the Bubb Report is the result of his untimely and unfortunate passing. And I'm doing what I can here in my own individual capacity to ensure that we can have some standard journalism to carry forward. So I want you to join us next week, folks. And again, let me thank you all for listening and tuning in today. Again, this program would be rebroadcast on GBN later in the week for those of you in Grenada. On behalf of the production team here at the Bubb Report, thank you. And you guys have a wonderful week ahead. Bye-bye.